I think a lot of the people in this room are not aware that aviation isn't the only study that we had done. We had other studies done prior to aviation years back, and they came out with some vastly different conclusions. But at the time, it didn't fit where we thought we were headed with the airport. So we try and balance that out. So we don't look at a picture like this. We try and get a bigger picture of it. Now, aviation took the budget that we gave them, and they did a decent job. But at the end of the day, we chose to modify a couple aspects. One of the most important is it was very vague as far as reversionary or non-reversionary, and it was left that way. That's for us to decide. That's for the city to decide whether or not they want to go reversionary or non-reversionary. Also, their report, as well as the report that was done a number of years back by Airport Business Solutions, didn't have numbers because, quite frankly, the city has to plug in the numbers. They know how much they want per square foot, and they figure out what it is for a 75 by 75 plus CPI, or I can never get that right, CPI. I mean, that's the rate. The only other item is that affects the hangar owners is the type of ground lease, because ultimately the city always owns the ground. It's just who owns the building at the end of the lease, and to what benefit is that to the city versus to the overall outlook. And it may not be a good situation to have non-reversionary for all of the, maybe it's better for reversionary for commercial buildings. I don't really know, but that's part of the reason that we want to put together a committee that has people that are more in tune with real estate and those type of things, so that we have a better idea. I can only look at it from a common sense type of thing, and so not to go, I don't want to peel out too far out of formation, but just to answer the question, and to address the question, there were more studies made than just aviation, and we take that all together and throw it in the basket and try and pick the best that we can. We're not going to satisfy everybody. There's no way to satisfy everybody. We just have too many diverse. You've got a question?
I'd actually like to say something just in response to what Nadim has said. I think to have a discussion and to present information and to provide a perspective on something does not qualify as somehow disingenuous or nefarious in any regard. I resent the statements that have been made, both personally and on behalf of the hangar owners, who were trying to provide a perspective that had not previously been provided. It was not disingenuous. It was not intended to do anything other than to bring facts to light and to plead our case in what we felt was an inadequate report. And so I feel the characterization that has been made is unacceptable and is unprofessional. And I also feel that as I'm not an attorney, I don't like confrontation, but I can't sit here and listen to what has been said without getting up and stating a counter perspective on that. I also feel that with regards to the report that has been done, granted that there was a budget that was that J Aviation had to work with, I think that our report also demonstrated that the work that was done on the 40 airports was basically done to come up with the information for the presentation that we made, was done by two people. on their own time. And so I think it should be taken into consideration by the board that it is not always necessary to spend tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars to get a report done that can be done to the satisfaction of the board, perhaps even by a volunteer group of people that are invested, such as the board that is being considered to consider the end of lease issues for current leases. And I would just submit that for your consideration. And I would actually like to hear, I would request an apology for the characterization that you made regarding the presentation that was made by myself and by Paul Boyer representing the hangar. Thank you.
I'd like to have that announcement.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
We get to get moving on, but go ahead.
Paul Boyer, Hangar 19. I agree with what Larry said, and Nadim, just to refresh your mind, last August, I used one word at one of these meetings. The word was riot. And you took me to task in front of everybody for using inflammatory language. You just uttered inflammatory paragraphs. There's no call for that. It's not accurate. For example, you said the $10,000 that Grand Junction used for their study. It was an in-house study. It cost them zero. At one point, they used a hangar appraiser for something or other, but it wasn't much money involved. The second thing that you're wrong about, or not wrong, I'm sorry, I'll take your statement as it says. You said, well, Grand Junction is 50 times bigger than Heber City Airport. Then why are they a comparable airport for Heber City? You're the one that said they're comparable, not me. And the other thing I'd like to know, I've seen a couple votes were taken here tonight. I'm just wondering how many days is it going to take this time before you disown your vote? It's 22 days the last time.
All right. We're going to have to disagree. Everybody, we have, one thing, we all work here very, very hard. And there are some strong opinions. And I think there's right in all, that we all have to have our own opinion, but we all have to agree to disagree sometimes. So please let's do that. And we do need to not throw things back and forth because it doesn't get the problem.
Nor does throwing stones help the process at all.
No, it doesn't.
And it didn't start here.
No, I agree. It's both ways. So let's just, this isn't the meeting to have that, out in the parking lot after that'll work. No.
At the bike track.
Don't edit that out.
It's all going on.
Two fighter pilots fighting is going on the bar.
You know what? Aviators are. So, you know what? Let's remember at the end. You know what? I am in agreement with one thing. I think if the discussion finally brings the right thing out. So let's keep doing it and let's get the right thing out. So anyway, is there specific? Let's back forward. Item 4. Do we want to? What's the procedure? Do we want to get a specific scope, or do you want to cut it out for advertising? Those interested, or do you want?
Look at our packet. I think the recommendation is to start point that we want to add to or against on page 2.
Where's the
Page 2 of the the center of the page is recommendations. There's a recommended structure for the board with recommended items or tasks or objectives. No, it's the word starts with them. Where are you looking now?
page 2?
Yeah, that is nice. So this could be a good starting point for a discussion to see if we want to add or take away from this. There seems to be some adequate detail here, with the exception of suggesting dates when we can start publicizing, how long of a period we want to solicit members. And then I would suggest also that we define a termination date so that those who are recommended for this board, they know at what point their obligation ends. It's not a board that owes in perpetuity, but the defined start and end point.
I have, I did read this, and I don't know where it's at. So, anyhow, anyone else? Yeah.
Well, we've got a group of people here. When would you like to, if you're part of the general public, when would you like to see that, as a public notice? I mean, how quickly? I mean, if you had everything to say about this, when would you like to see this notice go forth? And then how long do you think the term should be? I'm just curious. Any takers?
Tracy?
I'm not a professional person, so that's where I'm kind of,
Yeah,
right.
That's exactly why we're asking. Because this is going out to the general public.
Okay.
We want their input. So if we put this out with some of this criteria, how quickly would you like to see it? If you could name a start and end date.
30 days. I think that gives everybody who's going to apply a chance to get the word out in multiple ways, and then they still have time to put something together to send to you. I think that's plenty of time.
We got maybe 2 weeks notice in the paper, and then closed it, give it 2 weeks to apply.
Yeah, a couple times in the paper, and then have a 30-day cutoff, and I'm for moving this along too. I think anybody who's interested will apply pretty quickly.
So just to...
And if they're not, then maybe you don't want to, if they're dialed in, 30 days should be plenty of time for them to step up, so.
Well, now that's 30 days to get the people on board.
30 days to accept nominations.
To gather applications.
Just trying to get the time.
Right, couple times in the paper, couple weeks, and then 30 days they have.
What if we, essence of time, wondered if we could get, if we can get it in soon enough in the paper that we could, we got 30 days to another meeting. And then, we could, take applications up to just before the next board meeting, and we can have something before, so we can sort out.
It could also go on the website, could it not?
So, I guess let me pose the question are you wanting to accept the recommendation of the consultant as far as the makeup of the board? Because if you have 2 people from the GA pilot community, 2 from the board, and 2 people from the community that preferably have some experience in business or real estate,
I think we need,
Well, there needs to be one, I think there needs to be an odd one. Right now, it constitutes an even number. I think there should be one more position added to one of those groups. So that if there is a conflict or a low pay, there can be a tiebreak.
I guess my concern is a couple things. I think there's no shortage of people that are anxious to represent the GA community. And unfortunately, 4 of the 6 board members have name ownership, which I think creates some conflicts in the process. And then I'd be hesitant to throw a blanket out there to the whole community when you're really looking for people with specific backgrounds that could most contribute to that. So I guess I'd recommend that if you're looking to have community members involved, I'd suggest that you ask for specific qualifications so they can be the greatest contributors to the process.
I agree with Mark. I agree with you can't just. This is going to affect the investors at the airport the most. And yes, the general public needs to come in and participate. So I think let them. I welcome the participation if they're interested. think we also, I guess I think we need a few more on there. I think we need possibly 1 or 2 city council members so they can understand the process we've got there.
Maybe the first step is to decide what the makeup of the board should be, and then decide how you want to track it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a working group. Yeah,
And you don't want to get too big.
I think 7 is the most.
Yeah.
And I would recommend we either add one more. I like this, 2 represents the GA, 2 from the city board, and the board, and 2 from the community. But I would recommend we add one more position to either the GA or the community. One
I
of the
think
2.
it's GA.
I think the GA as well.
So you go 3, 2, 2. That would give us 7. And then invite if any existing city council members.
I guess that they should participate, they should, invite them to see if they want to sit in this, and that's probably appropriate.
And I think somebody on the board should be the chair of this.
I think you need a hired facilitator, or you're probably not going to get through this effectively.
Higher than what's on the board?
No, hired,
Oh, higher.
professional.
Hey.
Oh, higher.
Yeah.
All right.
Hired.
Oh, okay, they said
Hey,
the higher.
The hired?
Mayor up there? Okay, I see.
For all intents and purposes, may very well likely play the role as a moderator as well. Because considering the nature of the discussions, having someone who's completely independent to kind of bring in,
Could the city attorney be involved in this at all?
I think the city attorney has to be involved in terms of, contract education, review, if you will, existing. I mean, there are issues, there are contract supposed disputes that have been pretty clear. I think the city attorney needs to weigh in so that you remove some of that ambiguity if somebody's unsure about, what it currently says. Whether you can be the facilitator or not, I don't know.
What about Terry?
I don't think we're going to get
No,
that's,
Keep him on the,
yeah, we don't want them to quit leaders. I think we need to give some direction of what we want to do. I mean, we've got essentially 3 types of leases there. We have commercial leases, we have 4 types of leases on the field. We need to give some direction to the committee of what we want. What we're asking.
it's a hefty task, man. I got some.
And
I don't think they're